Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. Happy Halloween from everyone here at the Someone You Should Know podcast. We are honored to have a paranormal investigator and medium on today, and our guest is also the host of Quest, a journey into true crime and paranormal, which you can find on YouTube. Will you please welcome my new friend, Misti Gaither. Misti, welcome. Happy Halloween to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Rick, and happy Halloween to you, too.
Very good. Humble beginnings. Where did you grow up, and when did you realize you had a connection with the paranormal?
Okay. Well, I grew up in a very small, tiny town in North Louisiana, by Monroe, Louisiana. It had a four-way stop, and that was about it, and cornfields and cotton fields, and yeah, it was maybe around 200 to 300 people, but it had a large, big church.
Okay.
Yes. So if you watch Children of the Corn, almost.
Okay, very good. When did you realize you had a connection with the paranormal?
Well, at the time, I didn't really realize, I didn't even know the term paranormal. Mm-hmm. I just knew I could see things and, hear things and just really, especially at night when I'm supposed to be asleep and I would be the one running and screaming into my parents' room because I would see things and hear things. And I was really raised very religious, and it was frowned on, because they thought that, anything like that was of the devil.
Right, exactly.
And so I always said I learned to shut up because that way I wouldn't get in trouble, mm-hmm. So I didn't know what to call it until much later because, it wasn't discussed back then.
Exactly.
Paranormal, it wasn't as mainstream like it is now.
Right, that's for sure. I mean, there's several channels that you find it 24 hours a day on several channels. So it's pretty amazing. Leslie and I, my wife Leslie and I, huge fans of the paranormal TV shows and such. And we are. It's kind of funny. Our car is called the Squatchmobile. Because we've got the stuff necessary to go squatching anytime with us.
Oh wow!
And we're also ufologists. We've seen a couple UAPs, UFOs, and we've had a couple of ghost-like events in the house, as far as that goes. Oh, yeah. And it pertains to our pets. It does not pertain to any living human being. It's mostly our pets. We've had a couple of animals pass that we've smelled their scents or heard like the sound of nails going on the tile floor and such. So it's just a nice reminder that they're still around and such. But we definitely love that genre. Is there a specific subgenre of paranormal that you gravitate toward? Ghosts, cryptids, UAPs, UFOs, anything like that?
I would have to say ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I think that it's so important and just so cool that I'm able to communicate with the dead. And now there's so much equipment where other can communicate also. So to have that kind of the bridge between the living and the dead is it's amazing.
Do you remember the very first person you connected with that was on the other side?
I would say it would probably, I remember my first experience.
Okay.
As far as seeing something that wasn't there, and it mm-hmm. was when I was young, and it was really, I saw like this black figure, mm-hmm. and it in our kitchen, and I remember it was just kind of sitting there looking at me, and I had to be probably about 7, 8, 9, around that age, and I remember my parents. Had someone there, and my parents, I guess, had gone to the store or whatever. And I remember running out of the house when they, pulled up. And I remember telling them, I'm seeing this, it's here. And I was just crying and stuff. And they never believed me.
Right.
All right. Fast forward years later, me and my dad, we had, he was a pastor, a preacher. And so we were, estranged for a while. And when we finally, reconnected a few years ago, one of the very first things that he asked me, it wasn't how I'm doing or, anything like that. It was, Misty, I want to know, did you really see that, when you were little?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes, sir, I did, and I just thought, and he goes, I believe you. And I don't know, it was just kind of a moment for me, even many years later,
Mm-hmm.
that, I finally got that confirmation.
Yeah, that validation. Yeah, that's something that's definitely necessary for sure. And they say that children definitely have the veil is much thinner there, that the kids have a little bit more reception to, something that us jaded adults don't have anymore. But it's nice to see. Now, while my wife Leslie and I are big fans of watching paranormal TV shows, you've actually been in the trenches doing some paranormal investigating. Since this is Halloween, would you mind sharing a story or two that might provide a little spookiness for this Halloween?
Sure. One of my favorite stories here in New Orleans, as anyone knows, is one of the most haunted city in the country, and there's a place on Ursulon Street called the Haunted Hotel. Go figure, real catchy name.
Mm-hmm.
But it's allegedly where the Axeman of New Orleans stayed when he went on his murder spree in 1918, 1919. I really enjoy going there, and it's really active. And I think that I have came across the actual Axeman a few times.
Oh.
We actually had a 3-day, 3-night lockdown event in July there, where me and my wife and some people who wanted to come, and we took over the whole hotel and stayed there night and day, trying to find the Axeman. And so it's, some of the rooms are haunted. I mean, they have the one room where, he was supposed to have stayed at, and actually it's very active, especially around Halloween. And we have stayed in that room, overnight on Halloween. And I remember talking to one of my team members and just standing there talking, and all of a sudden the camera bag that was with us started shifting and moving for no reason. And then that night, you could hear taps and hear voices and just like whispered voices, and a very active place. And if anybody comes to New Orleans and is into the paranormal, I strongly suggest that you stay there, because you will not be disappointed.
I'll make sure we put that on our list. What kind of gear do you use? Do you use like REM pods and
REM pods, Ovilus, the dowsing rods, EMF detectors, just the cat balls. I mean, just anything, we got it all. And I always tell people, that's great to have all this equipment, but the best equipment that you could have is yourself.
Yeah, your senses. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and when what happens is we get too dependent on those, the equipment sometimes, that we forget to listen to ourselves. Like, how are you feeling? Do you go into a room? Can you feel? And that's something that I, watch out for, is not to get too dependent on the equipment.
Right. You feel cold spots? Are you feeling nauseous? Are you feeling lightheaded? Those things are always things you need to watch out for too. I got to ask you, what inspired you to start your quest, a journey into true crime and paranormal on YouTube? When did you start that, and tell us about that?
Well, I actually started about a year ago.
Okay.
Doing quest, and I've always had just such a affinity for the paranormal and true crime, and it's like one of my goals. I think that as a psychic medium, that it's more to just doing readings. You have this gift, and a gift is supposed to be shared, and was thinking, what better way to share your gift than maybe to help solve a crime, maybe to bring answers, to some family that's been grieving, or, searching, or, missing persons, or, unsolved cold cases. And that's what I like to do, is to encourage other mediums to, to reach out and try to be of some assistance to help, find those answers.
Very good. Do you take callers, or how do you do it?
what I do is I don't take callers on the show because we're pre-recorded.
Okay, very good.
But what I do is, I find a case that I'm interested in, and I just, go out to see if there's anything that I can feel or do. I'm currently in the works of doing like a sub show, and it's me and 2 other psychic mediums, and we're going to be actually helping a local, I can't say which one, but a local police department. They are going to be giving us some cases to work on.
Oh, wonderful. I always love seeing things like that, especially when you get something resolution to something that's been a cold case that's been gone for a long, long time, and you just have no leads and such on it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link your show to my show here down in the show notes, so any one of our guests or any one of the people who tune into our show can go to your show. And the question is, when they go there, what are they going to see? What should they be expecting?
Well, they can be expecting, how a lot of us watch the paranormal shows on TV, and you see the ones there that's, doing the investigations, and I call them the celebrity stars or whatever. They're the ones you're going to get to see on my show, and I sit down with them if I'm, if they happen to be in town, or we have via Zoom, and get to talk to them, and you get to find out a little bit more about their background and more about them than what you see on camera. You also get to see me go on some crime scenes and investigate and kind of do a recreation or follow the footsteps of what happened to the person. And you also get to see some of my investigations also.
Are you familiar with Cindy Kaza? And
yeah, I would love to interview her.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, she is one of the best. She has such a wide range and so talented and so in tune with her abilities. And I'm just really so impressed. And anything that she's on, the Holzer Files. She does some shock docs on Discovery Plus, and then she was on the Dead Files also towards the end. And just anything that she's on is just, she's just so, like, she resonates with the camera, but then she's so sincere and, in what she does, and it just translates on the screen.
I think you're doing a good job too there, Misty. So I want everyone to check out your show. What I'll do is they're down in the show links. All you do is you click on the link, and it'll take you to Misty's very special Quest, a journey into true crime and paranormal. And I want everyone to check that out, especially Halloween here. Start a new scary season with that. Now, before we continue, I want to say thanks for tuning into the Someone You Should Know podcast. You can find us on the web at Someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. If you go there, you're going to find our archive of more than 210 episodes. And according to Buzzsprout, thanks to Buzzsprout, they share us to all the different streaming platforms. We're very blessed to reach over 2,500 cities in 99 countries around the world. And I want to salute a couple of cities. Thanks so much to these cities. We have Sherman Oaks, California, Beaumont, Texas, Cape May, New Jersey, and Durban, South Africa. Thanks so much for tuning into the Someone You Should Know podcast. Heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. It is Halloween. We have Misti Gaither. She's the host of Quest, a journey into true crime and paranormal on YouTube. We've kind of scratched the surface a little bit on the paranormal side on your YouTube show. Let's talk about the true crime side now. Any subjects that really and truly fascinate you that you were able to help solve?
Well, I haven't honestly been able to help solve any yet, but I am definitely on the cases, I should say.
Okay.
Now, I do have a maybe for people who do not, kind of into the true crime genre, I do have this interest in like serial killers, and it's not about the death. It's about the why they are the way that they are, and how do they choose their methodology of, because they do repetitious. They do the same thing when they, murder someone,
right.
And it just, that part just kind of fascinates me, is the why.
Yep.
And so I, try to find the patterns and, of different things and of cases around here. And I think there's a lot more of that goes on than what's maybe told or alluded to because I think people don't really want to believe that there are that, people out there that are that messed up, and that's really scary. And, I don't like to think it either. And I think that's my way of maybe just trying to protect myself also is, you try to figure out who's that way and who's not.
Right. Yeah. That's very important, especially if let's say, for instance, you're wandering into a big city like New Orleans, or even Baton Rouge for that matter. You got to stay on your guard because there's, especially in New Orleans, you got an influx of people from all over the place, and you have no idea who that person is to your left or to your right. And it's always to keep your guard up. And if you've got that special intuition to be one step safer, it's always pretty cool. A comedian, dear friend of mine, Jim Gaffigan, once said that he thinks his wife really loves those true crime stories just so she can get rid of his body without leaving any loose ends. He said he and Jeannie were watching a true crime show, and she said, well, the wife could have gotten away with it if she wasn't that sloppy. It's like...
yeah. I mean, you watch so many of them, and I've seen so many of the true crime shows like it's on like for a few seconds, and I'm telling my wife, oh, that's so and so, blah blah blah. It's just so much, and you just kind of pick up on the, that they need to do this to figure it out, or use this test, or so it's definitely interesting.
It is, yes, and that genre, that subject matter is just, there's thousands of shows about it, From the cold case CSIs and all those other things, there's always something new. What really scares me sometimes is when you see something's really well done, who's going to get the idea? It's like, I can really knock off my boss by doing that. So that always kind of worries me too, when you wind up planting those seeds in the individuals who are just a little left of center, So.
Oh yeah. They don't need very much encouragement.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. There's just too many people, especially now. You go on YouTube or you go on TikTok or whatever it might be, just too many people misbehaving. So we need to be kinder to one another. I think we need to share a little love with everybody. Now, using your abilities of being a psychic medium, how do you balance your psychic abilities with the role of being a paranormal investigator? Does one hamper another, or one complement each other, or...
I like to think of it as that they complement each other. I like to go into a place not knowing. I don't try not to do any research before I go into a place. And so it's important to me, and I like to do the walkthrough first without the equipment to see if I pick up on anything or any, I do house cleansings and home investigations also, and that's always interesting. And I try to do that more low key, with less equipment and just more of my abilities when I do that. Now, the paranormal investigation, we're also members of a team, Louisiana Spirits, and we go, they go all over the state, and we go to different things that they do and just investigate all different kinds of places. But, as to what you're saying, I like to think of it as a compliment. Sometimes I'll feel something and then maybe the equipment don't back me up, but I know what I feel.
Right, exactly.
And then I'm more apt to believe myself than I am the equipment.
Very good.
Because, it's some of it's, kind of iffy with that.
I love what I see on TV as far as using these things, especially using the SLS camera. I think that is the coolest thing since sliced bread. That is just so cool. Have you ever used one?
Oh yeah, I use it. On investigation, sure. And you have to, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, because you have to look at what it's mapping, and is it just mapping a chair, And I mean, you just have to kind of use it. And do I believe it every time? No, I don't.
Okay.
But it is a good thing and a good tool to have. But you just, like I said, you just have to kind of, see what it's mapping out. And if nothing's there and it's mapping out a figure, well, of course it's a figure. But if it's like a chair or a water bottle or something, and it's mapping right on top of it, and I'm like, it's up for debate.
Very good. I got to ask you this personal question here. As far as being a paranormal investigator and seeing all these other shows out there, I want to know, who do you consider to be authentic as far as, these people are the ones I really trust? Because there's a lot of theatrics I see I just want to get your opinion as far as who do you think would be your favorite, one of your favorite paranormal investigators on TV?
Oh, wow. I mean, you're talking about theatrics and stuff, and I get where you're coming from, and probably whom you're speaking of. But I would say that I have several favorites because, Katrina Weidman.
I love Katrina. I love her. Yeah, when her and Jack do that Portals to Hell, I love that show.
That's a wonderful show, and I like Steve Shippey and Cindy Kaza. I love, there's so many. And I think that you have much more in the field than the theatrics. Now, sometimes the theatrics gets more attention and more press than those that just do what they're doing and just, constantly, sorry about the dog.
No, it's okay. We've got cats, so don't worry.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening. The cat and the dog are fighting. Sorry about that, y'all.
Not a problem.
So it's more, there's more good in the field than the theatrics.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing that sometimes I watch it, I'm going, oh, come on. That's just, I think that's just you playing for the camera. But there are a lot of great talented people. Like I mentioned, I was really surprised on how good Jack Osborne does. He and
oh my God, he is wonderful. He has several different shows, and to me, like he is sincere in what he does, and he's just the way that his shows are done, and just him and the way he carries himself, and it's just. You can tell. I always say the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I never would have guessed that. I thought, okay, gosh, he's got the popularity because he's Ozzy's son. No, he's got the popularity because he does a damn good job. That's what I love about that.
Being Ozzy's son may have opened some doors.
Yeah, it might have. Yeah,
it doesn't get. It doesn't give you the longevity.
Yeah, and I also love the Ghost. The Ghost Brothers are another group I really love too.
Yes, I really like them, Dalen and Javon and Marcus.
Yeah.
I mean, they bring a nice spin to the field, and I do enjoy watching them also.
Awesome, very, very good. Now, using your abilities as a medium, I'm sure you've helped a lot of people find peace with someone either living or past. Can you share a story?
Sure. I do readings. I was at a mystic shop this weekend and, did readings there. And, it's always, to me, I consider it an honor to be able to be the bridge between the living and the dead. Because what people don't realize is, you give the message, whatever you get to the living. But sometimes the dead, they have messages. It's important for them to hear things too. Forgiveness works both ways.
Right, exactly.
Maybe the spirit, they can't move on or be at peace because they're trying so hard to tell maybe, their daughter or their son, I'm sorry that this happened, or I'm sorry I was this way. And, that's one of the readings that I did this weekend was exactly that. The mom she wasn't the best mom in the world, but she was hanging on and trying to get that message to her daughter. And so I feel honored to give that message and to see the healing that starts by, just that, she says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done these things. And you can just tell that's, helps so much.
That's very good, very good. Now, you and I have been talking for 20 minutes, 25 minutes or something like that. I'm going to ask and see if you get any vibe from me, especially involving my late wife who passed in 2018. We were childhood sweethearts, and I miss her dearly. Are you getting anything from me?
Let me see. I'm getting like a profound sadness. I don't know yet, like exactly how she passed.
She passed in a hospital. She had lupus for 21 years.
Yeah, but at the time you wasn't expecting that she was going to go that way.
No.
Like to be right then, right?
No, it was sudden, very sudden, yeah.
Right, but I really feel that there was nothing unsaid between y'all. And, the way that I feel is that I believe she is at peace because y'all had that such of a profound love that, she's not having to say anything else to you because you're at peace because you know that she loved you and that you loved her. And to me, that's a wonderful thing that she's not trying to, be in limbo or, but she's okay. She doesn't need that extra communication with you because it's already been said.
Awesome. I just wanted to make sure she's in a good place.
She is.
Awesome. Very good. There was one thing I thought was really unique. As my wife was leaving this earth, my new wife came into this. We were also high school friends. We all knew each other. And I'm convinced that my wife's last act on this earth was to put my wife Leslie in my path. And I was wondering if you maybe get that vibe. I was because that's something I've added to the equation, but I just have a feeling that might have been.
Well, it actually, yeah, and I don't want to be an armchair psychic, like with the quarterback. Well, I should have, he should have threw this touchdown or done it.
Right.
But actually, I did. But it's kind of cliche sounding. I was like, but I do believe that with all my heart that she did, like do the, what's the thing, like the building, the moving, whatever that it was to get y'all together. And it was like with her blessing, and that she knows, she knew that when she left that everything would be okay.
Right. Well, that helps. That helps so much. Thanks for doing that, Misty. I appreciate that. I was going to a little throw in there. I didn't want to catch you off guard.
No.
How do you handle skeptics? As far as many people are skeptical regarding the paranormal, a lot of people are just too bullheaded. How do you handle skeptics?
Well, I kind of welcome them because, skeptics, there's nothing that I will be able to do or say that's going to make them change their mind.
Right, exactly.
It's like there's not anything they could do or say to make me change my mind about the paranormal or my gifts. So skeptics, there's always going to be someone in the crowd. And, and you have to think, well, why are they like that? Why are they so against, the paranormal, or why are they so, against psychics or whatever? But my point is, and what I want to ask, if anybody's a skeptic, when you're trying to help someone or you're trying to help on a case or anything, and I want to ask them, what does it matter? Mm-hmm. What does it matter to you if there is something said or done that brings peace to someone else? Why would you try to deny them that right?
Yeah.
Just because you don't agree with it, it doesn't make you right.
That's true. Very true. Very true. Let's talk about social media. Where can people find out if they want to get a reading or find a little bit more about you and what you do, and of course your YouTube show? Okay. Well, I'm on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. I'm mostly, I guess, because I'm not real computer literate or whatever. That's all right. I'm mostly on Facebook, but my YouTube, I communicate on there also. So, Misti Gaither is MISTI. Gaither, you can find me on Facebook, and then I can send you the links and stuff to my channel if they are interested in, subscribing, which is, really cool if they do. And we drop a new episode every Sunday. Awesome. Very good. Those will be down in the show notes. So if anyone listening in would like to find out more about Misty and her show, make sure you go ahead and go down the show notes. Just click on the link. It'll take you right there. Any final thoughts since this is Halloween, Misty? Any Halloweens of past that have come to mind? Well, you know what? I was thinking, I didn't dress up a lot as a child, but I do remember, and you may remember too, Rick, the how different that the costumes are now than they were back then. If you remember those masks. The lousy string on the back that kept on snapping. Right. But they were so stiff. Oh, yeah. Like they were there. And I think one year I was Wonder Woman, and I just remember, you have it in the face, and like you said, the string,
the rubber string.
By then it's smashed like, to your face, right, and you're looking like out of it.
Exactly. And I mean, yeah, they're totally different now.
Oh yeah, and, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's one of the things I remember is the mask and you know, the bobbing for apples, which isn't done now.
No,
back then we didn't care, you know, we bobbed for apples. So.
And I remember because it was late October, Chicago, Illinois, where I grew up. It was cold at night, so you had to actually take your coat and open your coat to where they could see what you were wearing. I'll never forget this. This time last year, we had a snow squall come through. And we had like 2 inches of snow that came out of nowhere. We live just on the south end of Lake Michigan. And we had a snow squall come in, and those poor kids and their outfits and moms and dads running around trying to put coats on them and everything. It was pretty interesting. It was just, we were just handing out buckets of candy to each kid who basically dealt with the elements and made it to our door. It was like, here, you can have a handful of this, a handful of that. You want some of this? Here you go. Give this to your mom. Give this to your dad.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Real good. Misty, it's been a delight talking to you on this Halloween. I thank you so very much. I thank you for what you do also, especially if you're able to help the police department and solve some cases there. And if you're able to help people bring peace, that is probably one of the most important things. And I also want everyone to check out your show. And I wish you well with what you do, and wish you well in your next season of your show.
Well, you know what, Rick? It is an honor for me to be a guest on your show. I've been looking forward to it for a while now, and so I just want to tell you thank you and happy Halloween to you.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.